September at the training camps. A rigorous prelude to a season which would produce more records than ever before by the stars who perform where the action is, the National Hockey League. Boston's Phil Esposito established 7 scoring records, topped by a fantastic total of 126 points, and won the Hart Trophy as the NHL's most valuable player. Chicago's incomparable Bobby Hull collected 107 points, scoring 58 goals to break his old record of 54. Detroit's amazing Gordie Howe also broke the 100-point barrier with a total of 103 and reached a major milestone by scoring the 700th goal of his remarkable career. His teammate Alex Delvecchio won the Lady Byng Trophy as the most gentlemanly player. The captain of the Oakland Seals, Ted Hampson, was awarded the Bill Masterton Trophy for sportsmanship and dedication to the game. Minnesota's Danny Grant was voted the outstanding rookie, capturing the Calder Trophy. Grant contributed to the total of 27 new league records, with the most points and most goals ever registered by a rookie. The hand-clapping, feet-stomping, song-singing fans in the St. Louis Arena saw their Blues dominate the NHL's West Division. Blues center Red Berenson topped the West with 82 scoring points and equaled a modern-day league record by scoring an incredible 6 goals in one game. Goaltender Jacques Plante teamed with Glenn Hall to win the Vezina Trophy as St. Louis finished in first place and carried through the West Division playoffs undefeated, eliminating Philadelphia and Los Angeles. In the East Division, Bobby Orr and the Boston Bruins were locked in a tense late-season first-place battle with the Montreal Canadiens. Orr won the Norris Trophy as the league's top defenseman. The Canadiens edged Boston by 3 points to win the regular season championship. Both clubs swept through the Stanley Cup quarterfinals. Boston hopes were high as coach Harry Sinden led his team into Montreal to begin the semifinal. The first game of the series established the pattern for what was to follow. The determined Bruins went into a 2-0 lead, only to see it disappear late in the third period as Montreal scored twice to tie the game and again early in overtime to win it. Fans thought the Canadiens had delivered the Bruins a stunning psychological blow. But Boston was far from downhearted. And here in Game 2, it was the same brand of exciting hockey all over again.
Go get it! Go get it!
The Canadiens opened the scoring on this early second period goal by number 12, Yvan Cournoyer. Throughout the regular season, the Bruins had earned the reputation as a team with the ability to come from behind. Twice in this period, they fought back to tie the score, and when they did, it was disconcerting to the Canadiens, their fans, and especially to defenseman Jacques Laperriere. Throughout the series, hockey fans were treated to great performances and great goals, such as this Cournoyer to Jean Beliveau combination for Montreal. A home ice victory trend developed. In Game 2, the Canadiens again came from behind to tie the score and went on to win in overtime. In Boston, the Bruins registered convincing wins, and the series was tied. A hard-fought 4-2 victory back on their home ice left Montreal just one victory away from a berth in the Stanley Cup Finals. Millions of television viewers saw the action extend into a second overtime period in the dramatic 6th game in Boston.
Face off to the right of Cheevers as the tension mounts here in the second overtime period. The Bruins clear the puck up along the left wing board. Provo intercepts it there. Provo to Beliveau. Beliveau shoots, he scores! The Canadiens have won the game 2-1 and the series 4 games to 2.
While the players had spent the season breaking records on the ice, hockey fans were setting attendance records as more than 6 million fans filled NHL arenas to watch the action. And the Montreal Forum was where the action took place as the 1969 Stanley Cup Final got underway. The game marked the second straight year the Montreal Canadiens had taken to the ice against the St. Louis Blues as East met West to compete for hockey's most coveted prize. Included in the capacity crowd was the Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Elliott Trudeau. Jacques Plante was in goal for the Blues, performing against the team he had once helped win the Stanley Cup on 6 occasions. The Canadiens struck first as Dick Duff took a perfect pass from Cournoyer and beat Plante. The goal by Duff and another a few moments later by Montreal's Bobby Rousseau quickly established the tenor of the first game. The Blues were forced to abandon any plans for a defensive style of play, and until the third period, the checking of the Canadiens and the goaltending of Rogashev Vachon effectively contained the St. Louis attack. In the third period, Montreal's rookie coach, 30-year-old Claude Ruel, saw his team's 2-0 lead sliced in half when Frank St. Marseille scored for the Blues. These same two teams had staged a hard-fought Stanley Cup final series the previous year, and the first game of this series proved that the clubs would provide the same type of action. For the Canadiens' number 16, Henri Richard, the series opener included an unscheduled trip into unfamiliar territory. The Canadiens carried their 2-1 lead into the final minute of play. With the seconds ticking away, Plante left his net and headed for the bench as the Blues iced an extra attacker in an attempt to tie the score. But the strategy didn't pay off. Henri Richard fed the puck to John Ferguson, who fired home the insurance goal, despite forward Gary Sabourin's effort to stop the shot. The Canadiens had won the first game 3-1. During the regular season, Jacques Plante and Glenn Hall had split the goaltending duties for the Blues. That same pattern was to prevail in the final series, and as the second game began, Hall was in the net. He had played in many important games against the Canadiens during his great career, so it came as no surprise to Hall that he was soon the busiest man in the Montreal Forum. The National Hockey League's record-breaking year had featured many great individual performances, and among them was the one turned in by Montreal's big number 4, their 6-foot, 3-inch, 210-pound captain, Jean Beliveau. When you talk to Jean Beliveau about his own accomplishments, he often replies, "The team. It's the team." The Canadiens' ability to function as a team was never better demonstrated than it was during the 1968-69 season. Their division championship total of 103 points was an all-time record, breaking the old mark held for 18 years by the Detroit Red Wings. Hockey is a game of opportunities. The Canadiens took advantage of one to open the scoring in the second game. J.C. Tremblay's shot from the blue line was stopped by Hall. Ralph Backstrom whipped in the rebound to give Montreal a 1-0 lead. Penalties are a part of hockey, and when one occurs, a familiar battle line is drawn as the attacking forces maneuver against the outnumbered defenders. In the second period of this second game, the Canadiens capitalized on such a situation. Savard to Beliveau to Duff. A perfect execution of a power play had given Montreal another goal. St. Louis battled back in the third period with its best offensive threat of the game. The action around the Canadiens' goal was hectic, and suddenly it was the Blues' turn to enjoy a two-man advantage as Serge Savard joined teammate Bobby Rousseau in the penalty box. As the door to the penalty box slammed shut, another door opened for the Blues on the ice as their power play and persistence paid off. Larry Keenan finally scored. However, Montreal held on to win and took a two-game lead as the series moved to St. Louis. Hockey fans had poured into the St. Louis arena in record numbers, and another capacity crowd greeted the teams in typically rousing St. Louis style. One of the greatest success stories in hockey history has been recorded in St. Louis. The National Hockey League had barely given birth to the Blues when fans in the Missouri city realized that the NHL is where the action is. An average of over 14,000 fans per game watched the Blues during their home season. St. Louis coach and general manager Scotty Bowman was hoping the home ice victory trend in the series would continue. While Vachon was in his regular role in the Montreal Nets for this third game, Bowman again made a switch and called upon Jacques Plante to withstand the Canadiens' attack. And for the Canadiens, their theme for the first period was just that, attack. Montreal's number 18, 23-year-old Serge Savard was voted the outstanding performer in the playoffs, winning the Conn Smythe Trophy. Early in the first period, Savard fired a low shot which gave Canadiens a 1-0 lead. Jacques Plante was appearing in his 100th Stanley Cup playoff game, and he was a busy man as the Canadiens enjoyed an edge in play. Plante was sharp, and the score remained 1-0 into the second period. If a goaltender can hold out the opposition long enough, it often sparks his club to better results at the opposite end of the rink. After Plante weathered the Montreal barrage, the Blues picked up the tempo from an offensive standpoint. But for the home team and their fans, it was to be an evening of frustration. A Montreal penalty gave the Blues a man advantage, but the 2-minute offensive charge could be summed up by saying they did everything but score. Then the Canadiens again struck quickly. Cournoyer backhanded a pass to Duff. Suddenly it was 3-0 for Montreal. Let's watch that play again. The balance of the game belonged to the Canadiens' defense and their alert young goaltender. Rogashev Vachon was on his way to his first Stanley Cup shutout. Late in the third period, Dick Duff took a pass from Jean Beliveau to score his second goal of the game. Time had run out on the Blues. A second look at the goal in slow motion shows the frustrating conclusion to what St. Louis fans had hoped would be a happy occasion. Now there was nothing to do but wait. Keep hoping and get ready for a game number 4. Carried the play to the Canadiens in the early stages of Game 4. The opening moments were among the roughest in the final, and the teams were quickly locked in a battle of stiff checks and end-to-end rushes. Fans were in for the best game of the final. Almost 8 months had elapsed from the day the Blues and Canadiens had reported to preseason training camps. This was the 88th game for St. Louis, the 90th for Montreal. In this final game, they reached back once again for that extra effort that produces a Stanley Cup classic. The extra effort that brought fans in the packed arena and millions more watching on television throughout North America to where the action is, the National Hockey League. Was in goal for the Blues and helped to keep the game scoreless in the second period when St. Louis opened the scoring. Perfect timing as Frank St. Marseille combined with Terry Gray to give the Blues a 1-0 lead. Given the West Division champions the emotional lift they'd been looking for, and they continued to force the play. The arena rocked with the chant, "Go, Blues, go," but as it did, the man who would be the ultimate key to defeat for the Blues loomed large in the Montreal net. Rogashev Vachon. The second period was dominated by the goaltenders, and Hall was performing as brilliantly as Vachon. The young Montreal goaltender was nearing the end of a string of 17 pressure-packed periods of playoff hockey in which he allowed the opposition only 4 goals. And as the pressure built in the goal crease, it affected the players up front as well. Early in the third period, a rush by Montreal's J.C. Tremblay set up his defense partner, Ted Harris, who had played in 59 Stanley Cup games without scoring a goal. Harris, number 10, tallied with a wicked shot from the blue line, and the Canadiens had tied the score at 1-1. The next few moments were the most dramatic of the entire series as again St. Louis stormed to the attack. Ron Schock had a glorious opportunity, but Serge Savard became a second goaltender and the Blues were denied once more. This rush by Ralph Backstrom was typical of the play. It was end-to-end all the way. Another rush by Backstrom started the play, which ended the spine-tingling exchange. John Ferguson scored on Hall from close range, and the Canadiens had a 2-1 lead. It was to be the last goal of the playoff. The pace didn't slacken as the third period drew to its conclusion. The Blues came agonizingly close and were haunted by near misses as time and time again the Montreal defense in Vachon met their challenge with poise under pressure. This playoff finale was hockey at its best. The game brought the Montreal Canadiens the Stanley Cup for a record 16th time. They were the champions and had done what they were supposed to do, defend their championship. It was a year of records and individual achievements. In the National Hockey League, the ability to win its greatest prize, the Stanley Cup, is best summed up by the Montreal Canadiens' great captain, Jean Beliveau, when he says, "It's the team."